Yeah, I almost forgot. The tea has not kicked in yet. Welcome everyone to our first career panel for the first year of the Climatematch Academy. This Climatematch Academy is really trying to bring opportunities for people who want to learn about computational tools for climate-related research and then develop their own skills, go into climate-related fields. And the goal of the career panel today is to provide different perspectives for everyone who want to join different career paths in the climate-related fields. And I'm really excited to have Mpho and Shipra joining us today to share their perspective. And I am Yuhan Rao, also goes by Douglas. I am a research scientist with North Carolina Institute for Climate Studies and one of the co-founder for Climatematch Academy this year. And I'm physically located in Asheville, North Carolina, where the background is the mountains that you can see from where I'm physically located in the United States. Without further ado, I would like to turn the camera or the stage to Mpho. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first.
Please.
Good day, everyone. I'll just say good day because I'm not sure what the time is wherever you are. I'm really excited to be part of the Climatematch Academy Career Panel today. My name is Mpho Sadiki. I currently work as an Earth observation data scientist for Digital Earth Africa, and I am based in Pretoria, South Africa. So my journey into my current career was rather weird. It started when I was in the 12th grade and I didn't know what to apply for university. Almost everyone in my school wanted to be a doctor and accountant, and I didn't think I was smart enough for that. So I decided to just browse the prospectus of the University of Pretoria and look through the geography department because I was decent at geography and maths. So I found the degree of Bachelor of Science in Geoinformatics. So that's what I studied in undergrad. I did my honors in that, my master's, and now I'm currently pursuing my PhD in the same degree. So I went into geoinformatics, which is essentially a field that focuses on using technology to analyze spatial data and understand the planet's environmental processes. And through this program, I developed a keen interest in harnessing data-driven solutions to address real-world challenges. So after completing my undergraduate degrees, like I said, I went into my honors degree. This is an additional year of specialized study that one has to do in South Africa before you do your master's. And this offered me a more specialized and in-depth understanding of geoinformatics. And during this time, I had a very good opportunity to go to Germany for a 6-month exchange program at the Karlsruhe University of Applied Science, where I was able to be part of the geomatics master's program, and then came back to South Africa, completed my honors, then went into my master's, where I focused my research on understanding a type of peatland on the South African-owned Marian Islands in the subantarctic ocean. So I just used Earth observation to try and understand their distribution and what drives them. So after my master's, I then realized, although I do want to complete my PhD, I realized that having a PhD without any work experience is not really going to do much for me. So I decided to split my time between working full-time and being a full-time student. So that's what I'm currently grappling with at the moment, trying to study full-time and work as an Earth observation data scientist. But I was lucky that after I completed my master's, I got the opportunity to be part of what is called a knowledge transfer partnership, which is an innovative initiative that facilitates the collaboration between businesses and academia. So through the University of Johannesburg, I was working as a research coordinator on a project that looked to use Earth observation data to develop data science capabilities for crop identification and yield estimation. So that allowed me to apply my geoinformatics knowledge, but also gain valuable insights into the practical applications of data science in addressing agriculture and food security challenges. So as I said before, I'm now an Earth observation data scientist with Digital Earth Africa. This is pretty much a global organization that deals with continental Africa. So we try and leverage Earth observation data to provide as well as manage, deliver continental services and products that particularly satellite imagery that can be used to harness insights that support food management, agricultural practices, food security, urbanization across the entire continent of Africa. So by understanding these dynamics, one can better equip themselves or decision makers, policy makers with valuable information that fosters the informed choices for a more sustainable future. So that is, in a very short summary, what I do, how I got into it, and where I am right now. Thank you so much, Douglas.
Right, thanks, Mpho. And if you want, you can share the link to Digital Earth Africa, so people may want to find out more about the organization and to learn more about it. And we're really excited. We have quite a lot of students from the continents of Africa and also South America. We really want to broaden the reach for those computational tools and those open data that Digital Earth Africa has been working with. So thanks, Mpho, and we'll come back to you with questions. Shipra, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so thanks for inviting me, Johan, for this panel discussion. I'm very excited and pleased to be here. So I'm Shipra Jain, and I'm a climate scientist and currently based in Singapore. I work for MetService Singapore, where my job is to develop climate services for Singapore as well as Southeast Asia. However, today I'm here in a different hat. So I've been engaged with younger system scientist community for almost like 7 years and in different capacities and roles. So here today I'm representing a younger system scientist community. And about my career journey, I think that if in one line I have to summarize, I would say it's a series of coincidences. So, I just ended up, I think, where I am pretty much by chance. I don't think I put much thought into my career journey. So I'm originally trained as a physical scientist. And I started my scientific career with a bachelor's degree in physics, which again happened by chance. I was quite interested in chemistry, actually. But my score was higher in physics, so the career counselor suggested me to go for physics, and I said, okay, yeah, why not? So that's how I ended up being in physical sciences. In my master's, I actually trained as a solid state scientist or condensed matter physics. That was my key specialization in my master's program. However, due to another coincidence, or I can probably say due to lack of confidence, I ended up in atmospheric sciences. There's a story behind that, but maybe we can come back to it later. After finishing my master's, I joined a research lab. It's called National Physical Laboratory in India, which is responsible for maintaining national standards of the SI unit. So I joined that lab and started working under a project. I worked under that project for 2 years and thought, okay, this is an interesting area and something that I can do maybe for the next couple of years. So I registered for PhD and finished my PhD in 2016 or so. Before getting my PhD, I also found a job at the Operational Research Center in India. And there, again, my profile was mainly to develop climate services. And after that, I actually changed many jobs, I think 4 or 5. So in my career so far, I have worked at 2 different operation centers, I think 2 different universities, 1 autonomous research organization, and I also worked for a private company in the UK on air quality. And now I'm back to the operational research center. So I think I made quite a big circle in terms of career trajectory so far. So that's pretty much about me, and I'm happy to chat more about this topic in the discussion.
Shipra, do you want to also mention something about the young Earth system scientist community?
Oh, yes, sure. Yes. So coming back to YES, I'm not sure how many of you are aware of YES, but it's a group of very vibrant interdisciplinary Earth system scientists, I think more than 2,000 from more than, I think, 60 countries or maybe 70. So I joined YES when it was in very early stages back in, I think, 2016. And there at that time, the early and mid-career researchers were not very well represented in the leadership structure or the big projects, for example, World Climate Research Program or within the WMO. So we, over the last couple of years, or I can probably say over the last decade, YES has strongly pushed the involvement of early career researchers in the decisive and leadership positions in these panels and in these structures to have a voice for the ECRs and to inform the organizations as well as the community about the kind of science the current generation and the upcoming generation wants to do. So as part of YES, I think I was executive committee member for 4 years, and I also led the science working group of YES for almost 4.5 years. I've led multiple initiatives, both scientific initiatives as well as the career development initiatives within YES with a team of very enthusiastic, and that's also where I met Johan through YES. So maybe I can share the link of YES, and we would very much welcome you all to become a part of the community and share your experiences and thoughts as well. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Shipra and Mpho. And I also put the link to the ones that Mpho shared, as well as the YES community in the chat to everyone. And let me get into a few questions that we prepared, and also encourage everyone to submit your questions in the Q&A tab through the Zoom webinar, and we can get to those questions later. So the first question that we had for both of you is that what motivated you to pursue your current career pathways? You may already touched on it a little bit, but I would like if you can expand on that. And are there any pivotal points during your career that changed your perspective on the career, on your career? And maybe Shipra, you can go first this time. You are muted. I think
Okay.
yes. Yes.
Yeah. So about the motivation, I don't think I have a very intricately defined career path, because most of my career, at least in the initial stages, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I tried to apply for different posts and roles, but truth be told, I took the opportunity which came to me first. So at that time, I think that it was a series of decisions that I ended up in the Earth System Science. It was not something that I planned, but I really like my work now after spending almost a decade in this field. Regarding the pivotal points, I think that I have, at least like for half of my career, I felt quite underconfident about the work I do or about the research I do. Maybe you can say it was a kind of like an imposter syndrome for the initial stages when I didn't trust my own capabilities, that I belong to the research sector or not. I don't know, like I cannot pinpoint when exactly how I felt feeling confident about it, but I feel that once I felt confident that, okay, if there is a question that I have to answer, I can read, I can learn about, or I can learn that skill and apply that. That's when I felt that, okay, there was kind of like a game changer for me. So for me, like trusting my own abilities has helped me to make or convince other people to trust in my skills and my abilities as well. So that was the pivotal point for my career, I believe.
Thanks, Shipra. Mpho?
For me, like I said, to go into it, it was pretty much, I don't know what to do, and it sounded nice on the booklet. But once I was in, I really liked geoinformatics. And when I finished my undergrad, I felt I didn't know enough. So that's why I decided to do my honors. And after my honors, my master's as well. But as I was studying in my undergrad, there was a remote sensing module, Earth observation. I hated it so much. I used to make the joke of I never want to see it again. And then when I went into my honors, I actually gained a great appreciation for it. As I was doing my mini thesis, as we were being taught more in depth and not just the generic stuff that they teach you in undergrad. And that's what I do now. So it's pretty weird that I started, I really hated it a lot. When I say I hated it, I mean it. So now I gained a really big appreciation for it when I did my master's and my honors and my master's. And now I love it. That's what I live for. And in terms of ending up where I am, I was very deliberate in the way I looked for work because I knew I wanted to end up in a sort of an academic environment. So I only applied for work at research institutions, universities, and that's how I ended up at the University of Johannesburg for my first job, and then at Digital Earth Africa, which is actually hosted by the South African National Space Agency. So I'm very deliberate in how I look for my work because I want to stay within this research environment and hopefully go back to the university environment and lecture students as well, because that's another passion that I have that I gained as I spent a lot of years at the university. But yeah, that's basically how it went for me. And it's also, like Shipra said, it's just coincidences sometimes and a bit of luck here and there because it's very difficult to get work in South Africa. So I was very lucky to get the opportunities that I did when I got them. So that's my journey.
Great. Thanks both Shipra and Mpho. And I think one theme I came out from hearing your story is that oftentimes career can happen in really different scenarios and occasions, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have really clear pathway when you first started it, but oftentimes through your experience both in the school and other opportunities like internship, as well as the continuous education that you have been getting, that can really help you to clarify and then redefine what you want to do. And oftentimes finding a job that you like can be challenging at the beginning, but the more you get into the field and the easier for you to really refining what you want to do in your job afterwards. So great. Next prepared question is that what are the most important skills that you think the students should develop during their current career stage at very early stage or before they want to pivot into the field of climate-related job pathways? How about Mpho, this time you taking the turn?
Yeah, I think for me, I think embracing technical proficiency. So learning a programming language, learning a software, because especially as an Earth observation data scientist, I think it allows me a lot more space to interact with the data. So when I was studying, I learned C#, I learned R, I learned a little bit of Python, but now all my work is in Python. And I didn't even think I would program anything when I got a job, but look at me now. So I think definitely technical proficiency is a very important part, and programming is very important in my career at this moment. So I would advise anyone who's still early in their career or looking to go into work to just learn anything really. And Python is one of the easiest ones to do, so just go for it. And I also find that being a critical thinker as a young scientist is very important, especially because we're in a really changing environment. So you want to be able to come up with well-founded hypotheses, and innovative approaches to address difficult challenges in relating to climate change. And I think you find much more fulfillment in approaching problems when you're more creative and you're curious, and you know that your work could contribute to a more sustainable solution. So that, for me, I think are two of the skills that I am at this early stage of my career embracing. So yeah.
Great, thanks, Mpho. And Shipra?
I think I kind of agree with Mpho. the skills that you mentioned. Maybe I can add two more on top of that. So for my career, one thing that has really worked is networking. So I started networking with people at a very early stages in my career when I was a PhD student, and that part of that happened through Yes. And in my career journey, I realized that there are a lot of opportunities, more than we can imagine, that are not out there in the open domain. A lot of it is comes through you, through your network, through nominations, which is behind the closed doors, which are not always advertised. And also sometimes, like if you go to a conference, somebody see you there speaking about something, and that kind of network has really brought tremendous opportunities my way, which I don't think I would have if I didn't have that network in place. So I would advise students, especially PhD students, to not only rely on your supervisor's network, but start building your own network. Because once you graduate, or once you go ahead in your career, maybe like 10 years down the line, when you are independent, you have your own research group, then you already have those connections in place, right? So you can leverage on those connections and start building your scientific profiles. And the second thing that I felt really worked for me is to paying attention to communication. I think that's one skill we don't receive enough formal training in any of the degree programs, that how to communicate. And it covers all sort of communication, not only communicating your science or your work to the media or broader public, but also how to communicate with the collaborators. It makes a lot of difference. For example, the email that you send to your collaborators, whether it should be short, long, punchy. So that also helped me because I started building my own network that allowed me also to hone my communication skills. And I never actually formally received any training, but I think that if there was a training on these skills in degree programs, I would have benefited more or learned a lot new things much sooner. So these are the two skills that I think are crucial, but slightly undervalued in academia.
Thanks. I think both of you are mentioning about the training and learning and the continuous learning. So where are the places that you usually find those learning or training opportunities that can help you to do things, for example, programming, and for example, science communication? That is a skill that I think I agree everyone should be preparing themselves for their job, no matter whether it's in university, academia, or in the industry and private sector. So can you share any places where you usually can find those resources?
I can go first. Well, at my office, there's always the joke that I know a little bit too much about a little too, yeah. So my thing is I'm just always on the internet. So I'm always on the internet, and I would advise people to also adopt that. If you don't know something, just Google it, because that opens up your mind to so much more going on in the world, so much more in terms of where your career could potentially go that the university couldn't possibly tell you. So if you don't know something, just Google it. And when you Google it, you're obviously going to come across a plethora of information about different free learning courses that you can take. And now in the world of AI, with the whole ChatGPT stuff, that's your free tutor that you can just leverage at any point. So I would say just make use of the web, and obviously, as Shipra said, and I'm also learning from that, you make use of your connections. We all have LinkedIn, and we all have different people that we know from different places. If you know they know a certain skill that you could potentially learn from, reach out to them and ask them to help you out. They could give you links to places where you could learn different things. So that's, I think, my take on how you can learn more and grow yourself while you're still a young scientist.
Thanks. Shipra, anything to add?
Yeah, I think that for communication specifically, there's so much out there. For example, I go back to Yes. So if you can become a part of a lot of online activities like hosting webinars or joining panel discussions or even doing outreach. So I think there are plenty of opportunities out there. However, I think one has to be proactive about these opportunities, because most of these are volunteer based, and rarely I find that these are paid. So that's one con, that it's very difficult to get paid for this icon you do. Like Mpho said, if you just go on the internet, you can find always conferences or seminars where you could go and speak, or even wherever you are in your organization. For example, in the organization we have a weekly seminar series, so that allows us to present our work and improvise our communication skill. So I think that the possibilities for this kind of developing this kind of skill are actually limitless. So there are so many platforms to, if you want to learn more about how to communicate. And just wanted to add on about using internet. I think that's like she said, it's a really powerful tool. So you can just Google it. And in my career, I also felt that you don't have to know everything, but you should know whom to ask. So you should know that who is the person who can answer that question. You don't have to know it yourself, but this is really important for career progression, that you are connected to the right people who you think can answer your questions, whether it's a career question or a scientific question. So yeah, that's my take on that.
Great. Thanks, Shipra. Yes, I think also taking advantage of the different professional societies, that would be really helpful. They provide trainings and different resources. One of the example I put in the chat is the American Geophysical Union, although it's named American, but it's open to anyone who are in the Earth and the space sciences. And they have programs like sharing science programs, and they also provide scholarships for people need financial support to attend meetings and those trainings. One last prepared questions, and then we'll get into the questions from the audience here. So what excites you mostly in climate and climate-related fields? And how does that affect your current job? I'm going to go with Shipra first, and then Mpho next.
Okay, so yeah, I think that every human has a component. Every human has one side that they love something about nature. It could be mountain, it could be lakes, it could be forest, but surfing, swimming, anything. But I don't think I've met any human being who said that they don't like nature at all. So I think that it's an excellent opportunity for me to spend my life learning more about nature. What exciting way can you think of living your life, learning more and more about the nature? So that's what excites me in broader sense. But like, for example, in my day-to-day job, when I'm working on my research problem, for example, and I see something which I do not understand how it's working, where I'm getting this. So that really excites me, like not knowing or not having answers to the questions, and spending time and trying to find answers. And it affects my job very positively, because my job is on research, and taking research to actually build a product out of it and transform into services, something usable which people can base their decisions on. So it's kind of like two different ends of the academia. So this kind of excitement also keeps me going to dig more and more deeper into the research aspect. Like the sense of not knowing and trying to simplify or breaking down concepts into simpler language, which I could communicate, for example, to our users, also I think excites me about my current job. Yeah, Probably that's what I would say. I don't know if I have able to phrase it the way I want to, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
I think that totally makes sense, making personal connections. I find that oftentimes people really enjoy their jobs if they can really make connections between the things they're passionate about and their like daily job duties that keeps people. So Mpho, do you want to go share about your excitement?
Yeah, I'll just build on the personal, experiences affecting your work, because the reason I like to focus on water studies is because I grew up in a very small village in the northernmost part of South Africa, and it's very dry, and we see the direct impact of climate change on our water resources. It's so bad, even our boreholes have dried up. So that's why my focus on water studies, it's such a personal thing that I feel like I need to at least do something that would be beneficial to the people I know directly. So when I work on it, I feel this excitement and this sense of fulfillment that I'm actually doing something. I'm providing some sort of value.
Oh, I
I
think
think we lost my phone.
yeah, I think we just lost Mpho. Let's come back to Mpho once she rejoins. So maybe we can go to the audience question for now. The first question, Shipra, maybe you can chime in first, which is, Mpho, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Okay. Great to have you back. And so I think
Yes.
you are talking about your personal connections and you want to do something useful for the people that you know related to, because you're mentioning about the water and then the drought or dryness in the areas that you grew up.
Yeah. So I just wanted to agree with Shipra that personal experiences are very important when you work, because they just add that much a little bit more fuel to your drive to do your work. So for me, that's why I'm very passionate about water studies, and Digital Earth Africa allows me to do that even on a grander scale. Like I do that for continental Africa, and we know that this is a continent that does not have a lot of resources. So to be able to provide data sets free of charge to everyone who might need them just makes it that much more impactful. So that's why I love it.
I love the answer. Well, just to ask a little bit more about Digital Earth Africa, do you provide capacity building or trainings for users and locally? And so if so, how people can find out those informations?
Yes, so we actually have a full capacity and development team through our lead, Dr. Kenneth Mubeya, who's based in Kenya, and Joseph, who's based in Rwanda. Like I said, we're pretty much a continental team, some people in Australia and America as well. So we do have what we call live sessions every Wednesday, where at 11 a.m. GMT, we just go through our products. For instance, today we did an upgrade of our system, our sandbox system, where we do all the coding. So someone will be going through all of that today. And last week we had something on how you can use our data sets through ArcGIS or QGIS. And then other weeks we'll just go through a product like the water observation from space. So those are the live sessions that we have every week on Wednesdays. I'll just try to get the link and drop that in the chat as well. And we also, if you want to collaborate or you'd want us to come to you, we can do that. We can come through, our team can come through and present any of the work that we have. If you have a specific focus, for instance, climate, they can come do a lecture or a talk on that. So we do have a lot of user engagement and outreach programs that we offer in our program for anyone who's interested.
Right. Thanks, Mpho. That's great. If you can share the link, maybe make sure you are sending to everyone, because there's also the first time you send just to the host and panelists, so only me and the Shipra can see it. So maybe let's go to the first question from the audience. So I think I will make it a little bit more broad. So where do you think, or where do you suggest people looking for job opportunities for graduates in the climate industry across different countries? So do you know any like job listing places or recommendations where people can find those opportunities?
Maybe I can go first. So for graduates, I'm assuming you're referring to the PhD graduates?
I think it's more broad, not just
All right.
PhD.
Yeah,
So
okay, just for, okay, so in general sense, okay, so there is something that I hoped I knew when I was doing PhD, but I didn't. So most countries have a national med agency, and it's like a direct route for you to have a scientific career, so sometimes they're called med agencies, sometimes they're called operation centers, but I think that most countries have this agency which issues forecasting and also works on the climate aspects as well. So that's one thing that I didn't know, that if I'm pursuing a career in Earth system sciences, that's an opportunity for me. And quite interestingly, I'm now at such an operational center. So that's one thing that I would look out for. And the second thing is, again, I will come back to the communications. There are a lot of opportunities for the communication side of things, for the outreach, especially for the climate. But I think that it's a little bit hard to build a portfolio in that, because when you are in the initial stages, they are not paid, so you may end up doing a lot of volunteer work, and I did some of that in my early stages of career. So you have to be a little bit established if you want to get into the outreach and communication side. But that's also, again, I think that it's a little bit underappreciated career prospect for the climate researchers, the outreach and the comms. And of course, there are more famous career trajectories, like being a professor or being exploring the industry. So now a lot of industry and the private sector is working on the climate impacts, for example, insurance companies. So these are, I think, that the new and very exciting prospects, which didn't exist maybe like 15 years before. So a lot of these opportunities are quite recent and quite new. And I think, yeah, one shouldn't be shy in exploring the opportunity, which is slightly outside your comfort zone.
thanks, Shipra. And I also put the link to the YES website, that there's a resource page with different links to different job postings, and one is specifically for Earth system sciences. So it's like a little bit more broad, that you including the climate related. So they have graduate student opportunities, postdoc opportunities, and other professional like job opportunities there. And then for Mpho, I will send the link that you just sent me, but do you know any like resources or for job opportunities in the continents of Africa or other parts of the world?
So from what I know, here in South Africa, we do rely a lot on LinkedIn. So if you're part of that environment, just grow your community as much as possible, because that's how people share different opportunities that they see. So not just the links that you can see as job posts, but rather just things that other people share as well can be very useful as well. And I find that if you're part of like youth programs and just organizations, they do share a lot of opportunities as well. So I would actually just leverage that as well.
Great, thanks, Mpho. And I think Shipra just mentioned there was a career panel recently hosted by YES on academia and industry jobs in the Earth system sciences. So if you go to the YES website, you can find the past webinar informations, as well as the YouTube. I think all the webinar should be on the YouTube of the recording. So thanks. A next question from the audience. It's a little bit like technical, asking your perspective. So do you think current IT industry is climate friendly? If not, and so any suggestions on how they can improve?
I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
I can give a quick one. I mean, I don't think there is a single answer to that. It depends on the company across also regions to regions. But in some countries, for example, like Singapore, where I'm currently based, there is also a requirement and the push from the government for all sectors, not just the IT, to be more climate friendly, to be more sustainable. So there are like countrywide initiatives as well, which actually forcing the private sectors, whether it's IT or not, in that direction. But I think that there is a lot of diversity in there.
How about you, Mpho?
Yeah. I would just like to say Africa is pretty much still behind on a lot of things. So a lot of IT businesses are not really concerned about the climate. It's not just the IT, actually. A lot of African companies are more just trying to make as much money as possible. We're not really concerned about how that impacts the climate as of yet. We're only getting into the swing of things now. So I think my answer would be pretty much different from what Shipra is experiencing in Singapore. Was just, that's all I could say, really.
I think there is also international push that for people who are not aware of the sustainable development goal. And I think that goal is really trying to balancing the developments, like Mpho was mentioning, that in certain part of the world, economic growth is still the key focus. And so how, as a world together, that we can make the development economic growth sustainable, right? To solve the issue of poverty and inequity broadly, and Earth observation can play a critical role to address those issues. So I think, but how to do it sustainably, like in terms of IT infrastructure, are critical. And I know some of the data centers are now trying to move their operation into underwater, and so to reduce the use of the water coolings and then the other utilities, so that there are some technical solutions trying to go that direction. So, but like for people who are in the engineering or IT industry, that will be a really interesting career to pursue in those climate related fields. So definitely want to encourage everyone to consider that. So we have a few more questions coming in. So with regards to professional connections, having a broader network, which age group holds more advantage, whether it's early career, mid-career, senior career? And I have collaborated with some senior researchers whom I invited as co-authors, but I didn't observe further collaboration initiated from their sides. I'm gonna pose it to Shipra first, because I know you have some of your like personal opinions on that topic.
Yeah, I do have. I think that as early or mid-career researchers, you should have collaborations across all career stages. That's what I did. So there are pros, I think, different advantages. For example, if you bring a senior research scientist into a collaboration, they can add value to your science that you're doing. They can share their experiences, and a lot of knowledge in any research field is conventionally based on experience, how you interpret your results. So there's definitely a value addition. And if the senior researchers happen to be a famous one, of course, that also helps you raise your scientific profile. I mean, that's the truth, right? So advantages, actually, I have collaborated quite a lot with early career researchers as compared to senior researchers, and I think it started paying me off. And like I mentioned in the beginning, that if you're looking 10 years down the line, so let's say 10 years from now, most of the senior researchers would have retired, and then you are left with people who are at the same career stage as you. And at that time, it's those connections which is going to help you doing exciting science or have meaningful or robust collaboration. So that's a really big advantage if you collaborate with people who are in the same career stage as yours. So that's what I experienced. And regarding the question about inviting us other people as co-authors and them not getting back to us, I think that the concept of co-authorship is like what value you can add to someone's work, right? So of course you see value addition in some way, and that's why you invite them to collaborate with you and work with you. Maybe they bring resources, maybe they bring a different perspective, their experience, or something else. So when you're in early career stages, I think it's a little bit difficult to establish that autonomy, that what kind of value you can bring. And it takes also the senior researchers to appreciate that you do bring some value addition to their projects. So initially, when I was in the beginning stages of my career, I collaborated with a lot of people at all career stages, but they haven't always invited me to become a coder in their work. But slowly, when I have established that, okay, I bring this special value or I bring this perspective, then I think that you can expect to hear more from the other side and other community. So I would not fret too much about it and focus on how I can convince myself and others that I bring value to your work.
Thanks, Shipra. And I saw you recently just did preprints with some like senior scientists on the on AMOC or MJO AMOC related things, but we can talk about that offline. I read that preprint, which is quite good. Mpho, do you have anything you want to add?
I just like to say that I'm still pretty young in my career as well. So what Shipra is saying, I'm learning from what you're saying. So I'm grateful for that. But I am inclined to agree with you that you need to have a broader spectrum of people you collaborate with, because obviously the senior the senior scientists bring more experience and a little bit more like advanced insights into your work, but they are going to leave soon. So you do need people to remain with you and build further on the knowledge that you want to contribute. But thank you, Shipra, for all these words of advice.
Great, thanks. So let's move on to our next question from the audience. That is a PhD and master necessary to get a job in industry as an Earth observation data scientist or remote sensing specialist, but focus on computational tools and AI? I think this is quite targeted towards Mpho, so I'm gonna see if you want to answer that question.
Yeah, I'll take that. So I find that it's not it's not required, but people who do go into it without a master's tend to go then do a master's. So you just want to keep learning. That's the thing. So you can go into it as an intern, as a junior student, junior part of the team, but you will probably feel that inkling to just go learn some more and just improve yourself that little bit more, and study a little bit. For me, I just always knew that when I started my honors that I wanted to go all the way, but I didn't necessarily have to go all the way. But the people I work with now, most of them do tend to just do their master's or their PhD while they work. I think it's just, you just want to learn a little bit more and just, I don't know, maybe if it's also you want to improve your standing within the team, to just for people to see you as more of an academic, because most of the work that you do does require that little bit of, research mentality, not just I'll just do it, I'll just write a little bit of code, but you need to have the backing of research. And so I think that's why most people do it, but you can go into it without a master's or a PhD, should be fine.
Yeah, I think what I can add into it more is that oftentimes a lot of companies or groups will provide education opportunities for their staff. So sometimes once you get into the job, oftentimes they'll also, if you can talk with your employer, sometimes you can get the opportunities that you can go to the school, but at the same time working for them. And sometimes they also pay for your tuition to go to those programs because they want to keep the talent that they want to have in the group and to continue the work. And I know a few of my colleagues got their degree of master's and PhD even through paid by the company. So basically you still work for them, but at the same time you do some like part-time school and research, and so you can get a degree off it. And next question, I think is quite broad, and I will ask for both of you, is there any scope for business or economics graduates? So basically students who graduate in the major of business or economics in the field of climate finance. I see Shipra nodding the head.
And that's not really my area, but I see a lot of adverts from banking sector hiring climate scientists on LinkedIn, and I received, I think, 2 last month as well. So I don't know the job profile because it's not an area where I have indulged in so far, but I think there are opportunities out there, especially about, I think that a lot of companies have this requirement as a part of their CSR initiatives that you have to spend some of your money for the public development. And a lot of companies are actually keen on spending that budget for the sustainability and climate solutions, because it's, of course, there is a lot of money involved in the climate sector and in the business. So I don't know what exactly the profile is, but I do see a lot of opportunities in that sector as well. And there are actually, I saw a degree course in Cambridge where you can do executive MBA in climate economics. So definitely there are jobs out there. There are being degree programs being rolled out, especially for the climate finance and climate economics. So I assume that there is a sector in mind. That's why these new degree programs are being rolled out.
Yeah, thanks, Shipra. Yeah, there's also the field of climate economics. So that is where people are really trying to understand the impacts of the climate in the broad study of economics. And also currently the chief scientist of NOAA, which is National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration within United States. She is a climate scientist, but then she worked for a bank as to help them to do those finance related, climate related finance modeling, because that also affects a lot of people's investment decisions and insurance and reinsurance industries, all those. And now she has been coming back to the national math agencies, like Shipra mentioned, to really guide those scientific research on how people can adapt to the climates and have much more broad perspective from both finance industry as well as the climate research. Mpho, do you have any other thing you want to add?
No, I think you've covered pretty much all I could say.
Great, thanks. Next question. So first of all, the audience said, thank you for sharing your early career experiences. Is there any thing you would have done differently early on? And what is something important you have learned that you would tell your younger selves?
I don't know if I would have done anything different. Maybe just not stress too much about where my career goes. Just sort of go with the flow. You know, if you put actions in place, you're bound to get consequences. So if you put the right actions in place, you get the right consequences, sort of thing. So I think if I'd just been a bit more relaxed about where my career is going, yeah, I would have had a better time.
Thanks, Mpho. And Shipra?
I mean, I don't think I have anything in particular. I've been pretty relaxed about, because most days I don't know what I'm doing even now. So what I will do. So usually my approach is I have a position in mind in the next 2 years, and I try to build up my profile to reach that position. And once you reach that position, then for some reason I have a next one in mind. So that's how my career has progressed so far. But maybe one thing, if I go back, maybe I would trust myself more, because like I said, almost half of my career, I kind of struggled with confidence, low confidence, and yes, played a really important role. In that aspect, I felt more and more confidence in my engagements, as well as when I'm interacting with other people. So if I go back, maybe I would feel more confident about myself.
Thanks, Shipra. And I totally agree that having a target, maybe not saying 50 years from now on, but having a more tangible target in the next 2 to 5 years that can really help you plan for a lot of things, especially if you are still in school, then those like next year target, for example, if you want to go for a scholarship, you want to go for a fellowship, and that is the target you can aim for when you're designing all the things you're trying to do. That can be super helpful. And so next question is that the audience is coming from background in biology, but really interested in climate science. The last time they studied physics and maths in depth was in high school. Is it a big disadvantage to lack a strong background in math and physics, and they're good at with asking questions and thinking of analysis workflows? Would this be still useful? Mpho, who want to go first?
Yeah. To be honest, I think you could still go for it. I find that in my line of work, I don't know a lot of things, but I want to learn them. So if you're good at analysis workflows, especially in Digital Earth Africa, the rest you can just learn and ask your way through, to be honest. You can do short courses, you can ask your supervisors, you can ask your colleagues, you can just Google it and you figure your way through. You learn on the go. I think if you want to do it, you can still go for it. Obviously, maybe people might not be inclined to take a chance because not everyone is as nice if you don't have the maths or the physical science. But if someone does give you the chance, I would say grab it with both hands and learn as you go. That would be my advice.
Thanks, Mpho. I think, yeah, definitely curiosity driven. It's really critical. And if you're curious, then you can always find a way to learn. And obviously, you need to have a little bit of luck that people give you the opportunity to pursue that job. Yes. Shipra?
Personally, I don't think it's a disadvantage at all. And I think that one thing that you cannot survive in climate science is probably computation. So if you don't know computation, that's something that you have to learn at some point, because there is a little bit of that involved in, I think, most profiles that we work in. About maths and physics, I think it's quite handy tool when you're interpreting your results, but I don't think that stops you, like Mpho said, in learning new things. It's not like we sit with a paper or pen or try to solve equations. I don't think that has ever happened unless I'm working on a theoretical problem. So most times we spend on my computer coding, trying to build plots. And then I don't think it matters where you actually come from, whether it's biology, geography, or maths or physics, because that's kind of like a skill that you can build irrespective of which broader STEM field you're coming from.
Thanks, excellent. Yeah, I think I currently have a student intern who did his first degree in like film and arts, and then he's now pursuing more physical like climatology for his degree. So I would say definitely there is opportunities for anyone who are interested in that. Last question before we close is that what is the purpose of a postdoc, and was a PhD enough if they want to keep pursuing a scientific career? I guess Shipra, this might be targeted for you.
I don't know how much time do we have, Johan? 20 hours? I can speak 20 hours on this. So I don't know what's the purpose of the postdoc, to be honest. I think that that's a kind of like a stupid term that people have tossed out. What's a postdoc? So initially, what I believe is that since there were not enough stable positions to offer, these interim positions were offered where you could develop skills like leadership, communications, which prepare you for more front row positions where you have to lead groups and work on big science, lead big science teams or write grants, I don't know. But I think that was the initial purpose. But now I think that since there are not enough jobs and there is it's a balance between demand and supply, there's too much demand for jobs and too less positions. So these positions are being created where you could spend a couple of years. It did add to my skill in some sense that I got to meet a lot of different people, worked in the different countries as well as groups, also got opportunities to get engaged in different research problems, which gave me kind of like a holistic view. So in that sense, it's helpful, but it doesn't give you the career stability that you wish for. So I guess I don't know how much sense it makes, but that's my personal feeling or experience about postdoc decisions.
I think, yeah, just really quick before we close, a postdoc used to be designed as still a training opportunity for the PhD, fresh graduate PhD, to continue their training and career professional developments before they can really take the leap to take their next job. And like Shipra mentioned, throughout the time, then people treat postdoc as like temporary job positions. And now a lot more organizations are rethinking how to design postdoc and to make it really serve the purpose as still a training opportunity for PhD, fresh graduate PhD who want to pursue different career paths, but still need some more skills for that. So I shared the link about National Postdoc Association, and that that's like based in the United States and have some more resources, and including emotional intelligence and or other parts, and then different career paths for industry, for academia, and other things. So there are lots of conversations can happen. Like Shipra said, there are a lot of discussion can happen around postdocs. So I'm sure Shipra would be happy to maybe, well, I'm not volunteer Shipra herself, but if you want to reach out to Shipra on the internet, you can find the time to share more or talk more about that. And with that, I'm gonna really want to thank both of you again for this really enlightening and lovely conversation about your career path, and then for the Climatematch Academy students. And thanks for the people who joined today. And the recording will be available for people who cannot join to the panel today. Thank you, Mpho and Shipra.
Thanks, Johan.
Thank you, Douglas.
Right. Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.